Hello class, today we're going to look at part 3 and in part 3 you're going to be introduced to the circulatory system. So what is the circulatory system? The circulatory system is made up of three things: the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood. We already talked about the blood in part 1 and part 2. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the heart and the blood vessels. What is the circulatory system for? The circulatory system, as the name suggests, helps blood and other substances to cycle around or to move around your body. And this is why this chapter is called the transport system. The circulatory system helps transport or carry substances around the body using your blood. So number one, it transports nutrients and other useful substances to all the cells in your body. And number two, it removes the waste from the cells. So the cells will do some things and they will produce waste product, for example, like carbon dioxide. And these waste product has to go out. And how do they go out? What carries these waste product? The circulatory system helps carry these things. So let's talk about the heart. The heart is a muscular organ with valves that pumps blood around the body. So the heart pumps blood so that the blood goes around the body. So the heart has two sides. The left side receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and pumps it to the rest of the body. So oxygenated blood means that blood that carries oxygen. There's oxygen inside that blood. And this blood, of course, comes from the lung. And then you have the right side, which receives deoxygenated blood. So deoxygenated blood means that blood that doesn't have oxygen inside. And this blood goes from the body and pumps it back to the lungs. Now let's talk about the blood vessels ataupun urat-urat yang ada di dalam badan tani. There are actually three types of blood vessels in the human body. The first are the arteries, and the arteries carries blood away from the heart to the body tissues. And then the veins carries blood from the body tissues to the heart. And then lastly, you have the capillaries. These types of blood vessel, these are very small blood vessel. So arteries are blood vessels that carry blood from the heart to the body tissues. And then for the veins, it carries blood from the body tissue to the heart. So in the opposite direction. So this is what it simply looks like. You have your heart here, and then this will be your lungs, and this will be your body tissue. So this is just a simplified diagram of what's going on inside. So there are actually a lot of blood vessels connected to the blood, but you only need to know these four. Number one is the pulmonary vein. So the pulmonary vein brings oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. So it basically is the vein that is from the lungs to the heart. Okay. And then you have the aorta, which then carries oxygenated blood from the heart to other parts of the body. So this goes from the heart and then to other parts of the body, or otherwise known as the body tissues. And then you have the vena cava. So the vena cava brings deoxygenated blood, so from here back to the heart here. Okay. And then lastly, the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the heart back to the lungs. So how does blood flow? So let's say blood started from the lungs here. The blood at the lungs will pick up oxygen and the blood becomes oxygenated blood. And then the blood then goes through the pulmonary vein and goes into the heart, the left side of the heart, and then from the heart goes through the aorta and then goes to other parts of the body, so the body tissues. When the blood is at the body tissues, the blood will then give the oxygen that it carries to the body tissues, to other parts of the cell. So the blood removes the oxygen. So the blood becomes deoxygenated blood. So blood without oxygen. And then the blood moves from the body tissues back to the heart through the vena cava, and then from the heart back to the lungs, and then it picks up oxygen again, and the cycle repeats again. So that is how the blood flows around the body. Okay, so we talk a bit more about the heart and the blood vessels in this video lesson. Remember what the circulatory system is for. The circulatory system basically carries nutrients and carries weights all around the body so that they can go to where they're supposed to go. And then you have the heart. The heart have two sides. The left side receive oxygenated blood and pumps it to the rest of the body. The right side receives deoxygenated blood from the body and pumps it back to the lungs. And then you have the blood vessels. There are three types. Arteries carries blood away from the heart to the body tissues. Veins carry the blood from the body tissues to the heart, so in the opposite direction. So capillaries are just small blood vessels. And then make sure you know the names and also the pathway that the blood flows from the lungs to the heart, to the body tissues, and then back to the heart, and then back to the lungs. And remember the names of the blood vessels that they go through: the pulmonary vein, the aorta, the vena cava, and also the pulmonary artery. In the next video lesson, we're going to talk a bit more about the heart.